Welcome to Plutus IAS. This time we are going to discuss about the ranges which are lying in the Uttarakhand. In the previous video, I have already discussed about the districts. And if you have not seen that video, first go and watch that video which is of district, and then you come back to this in order to understand which of ranges are lying over here. So as we know, how many ranges are there? There are almost 5 ranges which are going from this. So first, there is a very small portion of Trans Himalayas, then there is Great Himalayas, then we have Middle Himalayas, and the last one is Shivaliks. And in certain regions, we also find in bits and pieces some plain regions as well. So majorly, these are the ranges which are falling in this area, and particularly which range is having the maximum area. So the maximum area is covered by the Middle Himalayas. So Middle Himalayas is also known as your Lesser Himalayas, and Greater Himalayas are also known as Himalaya. Okay. So these are the areas. Now, if you look at these areas, what are the characteristic features of these areas? That is what we have to understand. So if I talk about the Great Himalayas, the peak that they are having, the average peak of Great Himalayas is going to be 6,000 meters. So definitely they are going to have the highest peak. They have lofty mountains. That is the feature. The next one is Middle Himalayas, which is basically this one. This is again covering the major portion of the Uttarakhand, and if you consider the height, which is 4,500 meter, that is the average height of Himalayas. And if you see the formation of these places also, that what is the age of all these ranges. So the Great Himalayas are the oldest one. Although if you consider the Himalayan range in all, that is said to be the most youngest range, and it's called as Young Fold Mountains. But among all of these ranges that we are discussing right now, so among all these ranges, the Great Himalayas is oldest one. The Middle Himalayas is obviously, because they have been formed later on, is is the newest one, and then the newest of all, the most recent one is Shivaliks, right? So if you talk about in which period they have been formed, all these ranges have been formed in the tertiary period. And if you talk about majorly Great Himalayas, that has been formed in the different period of tertiary only, and the rest of the ranges have also formed in the similar manner. So if I talk about how this geological formation has happened of these ranges, so it is said that there are two views on that. It is said that there was a sediment in the Tethys Sea, and the sediments got compressed because of the two plates. Two plates herein we are considering Eurasian and Indian plate that has been compressed. And when these sediment loads were compressed, the sediment loads took the shape of the mountains, and they are still compressing. It is said that they are still compressing. If you see and find the height of the Himalayas, for particularly if you see the height of the Mount Everest, every year it is increasing. The reason being because there is a northward drift of the Indian plate which is taking place, and there is which boundary which is lying at the Indian and the Eurasian plate, which is convergent boundary. So this is how this formation has taken place. And if you talk about the vegetation of the Great Himalayas, Middle Himalayas and the Shivaliks, so you would see that Great Himalayas is also having good cultivation. Basically, some of the areas are good. For example, they are good in the cultivation of walnuts and some orchids, saffron. So in certain areas, it's quite apt for the cultivation. Similarly, Middle Himalayas, are also good for the cultivation. But the prominent characteristics feature of this area is that we find karevas over here, and in karevas there is cultivation of saffron happens, right? And next feature that we find is that between lesser Himalayas and the Shivaliks, which you also call it the outer Himalayas, is the formation of dunes. That's why you have Dehradun, Patli Dune. So all of these are the characteristic features of this place. Now talking about Shivaliks, Shivaliks has been formed by both the deposition of the rivers which are bringing the sediments in the lower regions and also by the upliftment which is still taking place. So this has been the amalgamation of both, and hence Shivaliks are on the lower range and good for the cultivation as well. Right? That's all about the ranges. I'll bring up next video and we'll discuss more about Shivaliks in the next one.